To start our study of mathematics, let's first get down to the basics. Now, some of this you may already know, but hopefully out of this you'll get something as well, maybe something that's new. Where I want to start first is with natural numbers. Natural numbers are the numbers that we count with. When we start counting, what do we start with first? Well, first we start with 1. So 1 is a natural number. Then as I count like horses that come in or sheep or whatever, then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. I'm not going to keep going. Okay? The numbers that we count with every day to count things with are referred to as natural numbers. We can kind of put these in a math sense by saying, well, these all belong into a set. And to show kind of a set notation, we just put these little braces on there. And then we can say that n is our set, and n represents the set of natural numbers. Another way that I can deal with numbers also is something that's called whole numbers. W-H-O-L-E. Whole numbers. And if we look at whole numbers have all the natural numbers in it, so it's just the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But there's one difference between natural numbers and whole numbers, and this is kind of important. Whole numbers also include 0. Now 0 really was kind of invented right around 200 AD and didn't really even get fully understood until almost the 1600s. So this is something that's actually fairly new if you look in terms of history. Once again, I can put this in set notation. So we'll kind of do like this. And we'll call this set W for whole numbers. And set W is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Another way that I kind of like to show the differences between natural numbers and whole numbers is if I were to draw a circle, and inside the circle I put all the natural numbers. So here we go again. Counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And the 3 dots means and so on. It keeps going and going and going. Here's all my natural numbers, totally contained in that circle. Well, then if I look at whole numbers, because whole numbers contain all of the natural numbers, then I could draw another circle around the natural numbers, and I could say, well, these are all my whole numbers. And what is the difference between the whole numbers and the natural numbers? Is whole numbers include 0. And it's kind of another visual way of kind of looking at, okay, natural numbers are part of whole numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a whole number because it's within. But 0 is outside of the natural number circle, so 0 belongs only to whole numbers. So if you ever ask a question, like on a test, what is the difference between whole numbers and natural numbers? Well, whole numbers include 0. Natural numbers are the counting numbers, whole numbers are counting numbers and 0. So that's the difference. Whole numbers have 0. To write a whole number, we use what is referred to as standard notation. And standard notation is basically made up of 3 parts. First off, we use the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the only digits that we use. The only symbols that we use to represent numbers is 0 through 9. Then the second thing is where we place each of these digits is important to standard notation because, number 3, the value of each of those places is different. So we're going to kind of take a look at that and break down the numbers and how the symbols, the digits, fit into their places to give us the value of the whole number. Our numbering system is based on each place having a value to it. So I take the numbers, the digits that I had, 0 through 9, and where I place them represents different values. Like the first digit is our ones, which you probably already know, ones, and then tens, hundreds. Then we get into thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and then we have millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. Hopefully by now you can see there's a pattern that's developing. It's like the thousands, then 10, and then 100, millions, 10, and 100. Now we have billions, and I could keep going, 10 billion and 100 billion, but we'll stop at this point right now. So if I were to look at like the digit 6, this 6 right here represents 6 10,000s, or this digit by itself is the same as 60,000. Now, one of the things that, as you can see, they're kind of like grouped in groups of threes. These are called periods, and they're separated by commas. So the first period basically is the ones. We usually don't refer to 100 ones, but these are actually the ones. The next period is referred to as the thousands, and that's where we have the thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. The third period is the millions, and the fourth period would be the billions. These are referred to as periods, and they're separated by commas. This is kind of important. Now, the only exception to the rule is if we had a number that's only 4 digits long or less, such as 4,322. With 4,322, we don't have to put the comma in here. You can if you want to, it's optional, but this is the only case where we can kind of skip out the comma that separates this period from this one, is if we have 4 digits or less. Anything greater than that, you need to put the commas in for each of the periods that are 3 numbers, digits long. Now let's look at how we would take a number that's written with digits and write it in words. There are some rules to that as well. And the first thing that I want to start out with is any 2-digit number greater than 20 should have a hyphen in it separating the two parts. Like, for example, 26. The way that we write 26 would be 20 and then a hyphen and 6. A lot of people leave the hyphen out. It's not something that everybody realizes because we've come sort of lax on how we write our numbers. But when you write out a check, if you're writing a check for 26, it really should be hyphenated. Any 2-digit number that's greater than 20. 44, this is one that quite often gets misspelled because 40 is like this. F-O-R-T-Y, but yet the 4 is F-O-U-R. But 2-digit numbers, hyphenated. Now, there are some exceptions. The number that starts every tens group, like 30. I don't have a second number that goes with it, so 30 is just plain old 30. There's no hyphen on 30. Or 60, let's do 60. 60 is just simply 60, no hyphen. Now I've kind of totally have skipped out all the teens, such as like 16. And if you remember when I was saying the rule is any 2-digit number greater than 20 is hyphenated. The teens, because of the way we write them, the teen is just added right on, so I got 16. I don't use a hyphen on teens. So anything 20 or greater, hyphenate between the two words. Now let's look at writing a number that's a little bit bigger than just the 2-digit numbers. To write out this number, the first thing you need to do is move all the way over to whatever the farthest over to the left period is and start with that. And look at the 3 digits that are there and just say them like you normally would for just these 3. 233. So that's what we want to start out with. So we're going to start with 230, and here's the hyphen, 3. Now kind of am limited on room right here, so I'm going to kind of wrap it around. But now we look at what is this period? This period is the thousands. So we need to write out what the period is, and it's just 1,000. We don't put the S on it. So we have 233,000. Now it's important, where the comma is in the number, we also need the comma in our words when we write it out. So we put a comma there that kind of ends the period, 233,000. Now move to the next period. The next period is 526. 520 hyphen 6. Now, this is the ones period, but typically we don't at the end say 526 1. We just kind of you don't need to put the ones on that. All the other periods going to the left, we need to put in what the period is, 1,000, million, billion, but the ones we just kind of drop that. So 233,526, comma goes just like the same as what is in the number. Let's look at another fairly big number, even bigger this time, and we're going to write the words that represent this number. So like I said before, go to the furthest to the left period. So this is the one that I'm going to start in, and I look at just the number that's there. It's just 32. So I write 32 hyphen, here's the hyphen, 2. Now what period is it in? Ones, thousands, millions. So I'm going to write 32 million and then put in the comma just like it is in the number. Now we want to go to the next period, this period right here, and we have 450. So we're going to go 450. No hyphen this time because this is one of those tens numbers, so we just put 50. Now, the period, what's the period that we're in here? Ones, thousands, so we write 1,000. Put in a comma, just like what we have here. Now we go to the ones, what do we have here? 90. And that's where we can stop. We don't need to put in the ones. Now, when we say this, 32,450,090. Notice I didn't say and 90. A lot of times people have a tendency to want to say 32,450,090. The word and is reserved for the decimal point. So we got to make sure we don't throw the and in here. The and would come at the end if we had a decimal number following behind that. So be careful. Don't throw the and in. That's a common mistake. Now I'd like to go in the reverse and go from words into how we write it out into numbers. And basically it's doing the same thing, kind of going backwards, that's all. We still start, as we read, the first thing that comes would be the first period that we're going to end up with. So we have 340 million. I want to look at just this first, 340. How do I write 340? I do 340 and then put in the comma. I know that's going to be for millions. Then I go to the next where the comma is. So this is my next period. This is my thousands period. So I'm going to go to this one. And what does it say? It says 62. Well, remember, we got to have 3 digits. How do I write 62? I don't just write 62. I need to put in a 0 for where the hundred thousands would be. And then I can do 62 and a comma to end the thousands period. Then, after the comma, here's my next set of numbers, 48. So once again, it's only the last two digits, so I need to put in a 0 to hold the hundreds place, and then put in 48. So what we have is breaking it down by periods, millions, thousands, and ones. And remember, when we have two-digit numbers greater than 20, to include the hyphen. And now you should be able to translate from words into numbers, standard form, or go from our standard notation, back into words. You should be able to do that.